Perfect. So now we are recording for day 3. So just a quick audio and screen test. I hope my voice is audible to all and you guys can see the pointer as well. Thank you, Chris. So thank you, Jerry. So now, folks, we're gonna talk about. So this was NTLS, which we covered yesterday. So now we're gonna talk about the second method of your client and your HSM interaction. That is STC, Secure Trusted Channel. So STC is your high assurance option for your client and your network authentication. Here, the communication is between your client and directly with the partition interface. Directly. How they are interacting? They're interacting with the help of unique identity. Client, they have their unique identity, and partition, they have their unique identity. So let's first understand what exactly is this identity keyword here. Your identity are nothing but your 2048-bit RSA key pair, a public and a private key pair. Partition have their unique identity, unique pair. All the clients will have their unique pairs. So in case of STC, traffic is also encrypted just like NTLS, but it will be authenticated end to end. So this is your highest assurance option for your network communication. So in case of your STC, all your messages are encrypted and wrapped just like NTLS. So this encryption feature is just like NTLS. But additionally, there will be integrity check that will take place for all your messages. Whenever your request arrives at your partition interface, integrity check. Whenever a response is sent, and another integrity check. So once your client, sorry, once your client and your and your partitions they are authenticated, they will have a unique session key for each STC connection. The communication between one client and one HSM can be either NTLS or STC. So it cannot be both. It can either use NTLS port 1792 or it could use STC port number 5656. At a given time, your HSM can talk to both the clients. It can talk to NTLS client, it can talk to STS client, but one HSM, one client interaction will be either NTLS or STC. It cannot be both. So this identity is your 2048-bit RSA public and a private key pair. These identities they need to be exchanged between your HSM and the client to establish your trust. So instead of exchanging certificates between your HSM and your client, this time in STC we'll be exchanging identities. And we all know the name of utility on Windows to transfer the file from HSM to the client, the name of the utility to transfer the file.
PSCP.
Absolutely right. Using the help of PSCP, we'll get the partition's identity on the client and we'll do the registration steps. So those identities, you don't have to manually trigger any command. They are automatically created when your partition is created. So some of the security features, some additional security features for your STC connection will be your symmetric encryption, your message authentication to verify your integrity for the request and response, and bidirectional authentication between your partition and your client interface. So coming back to the diagram which we drew yesterday, so your NTLS communication is from the client interface encrypted till the NIC of the interface, NIC of your appliance. Then your appliance forward the request to the HSM and then forward it to the consecutive your required partition. But in case of STC, communication is directly encrypted from the client interface till the partition interface. The request will be decrypted directly at the partition interface. Similarly, with your response, decrypted right here. As there are additional security steps involved in your STC communication, there will be impact on your performance. So the performance you get with NTLS will be much more higher as compared to your STC traffic. So this you have to make note of. And there are some configuration which you have to do it separately for STC. For example, your link activation timeout. So between 1 to 240 second, you can just wait for your maximum time allowed for your STC connection. When the request was issued, between 1 to 240 second, you can configure this. Message encryption level, whether you want to use AES 128, 192 or 256. HMAC level, whether you want to use SHA-512 or SHA-256. Rekey threshold, how frequently you want to regenerate your session keys. So these are the some of the additional configuration which you have to do. There are two options to configure STC. If it is a altogether uninitialized partition, there are some steps for that. And if there is an existing connection for which you are using NTLS, and then you want to switch your NTLS connection to STC, then there is option for that. So this hands-on 06, we will not be doing this hands-on, but this is for your reference. All the steps for your STC communication, both these options are covered in this hands-on. So make sure you just read this hands-on document on the learning portal, make your required notes, because like I said earlier, this documentation is available to all of you for the next 40 days. So this is STC. So just a quick comparison, STC have additional security, NTLS have high performance. So where exactly one should be preferred? So if you have your own data centers, you are not sharing any shared HSMs with any different applications, definitely NTLS is more suitable for you. But if your HSM is hosted somewhere else, or if it is in a shared environment, then you can use STC for those additional security features which you are getting. You can always configure STC and TLS in your lower environment and compare the performance and decide which model of encryption, which model of communication you prefer. So this brings towards the end of our module number 4. In this module, we already talked about Luna HSM, different HSM tools like CKDemo, multi-token, SA login, CMU, VTL, and most powerful one, Luna CM. And we also talked about NTLS and STC in this module. So before we start the 5th module for the day, any questions, anyone? I think the morning coffee is still kicking in. Yes, Avinash.
Yeah. So, do you have any use case for this STC, like specifically for any application or anything you can suggest for the STC?
So, Avinash, it is just two separate methods for your HSM, your client and HSM interaction. There is no specific use cases. It is just the matter of customer preference, whether they want to go for this higher performance NTLS or higher secure model like STC. So for example, some of our defense clients, they do not care about performance. For them, security is everything. For them, they will prefer STC over NTLS. So it is just a matter of preference of the customer requirement to go for NTLS or STC.
Got it.
Yep. Once the connection is established, the the kind of operation is similar. Whatever you can do with NTLS, you can also do with STC. The use cases will not vary. So any other questions, folks? Mariam, Carl?
Yeah, please. Good morning. And then the STC communication is
Yeah.
more secure for I don't know, entities, external entities to connect to the HSM?
Correct. So here, if you see
Okay.
here, if you see here, in case of NTLS, the request encrypted till here. It will be decrypted
Okay.
right here, and then it will be forwarded to the partition. Even
Partition.
though this communication is secure, there is no reason that this communication is not secure, but we are just mentioning that this is unencrypted. But in case of STC, the encryption is directly from the client interface till the partition interface. So this is some
Okay.
additional feature you're getting with STC.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. So I'll get the next module for the day. So this is module number 5, product administration part 1. So in this module, we're going to talk about backup, your different backup methods which are available to you. We talk about high availability, how your HA environment works, how your replication works, if some object needs to recover, if one of the HSM is down, how you can do recovery, the difference between active and standby configuration, load balancing, how your load will be balanced if you have multiple HSMs in place, how the load will be balanced, who will be responsible for balancing your load. If you have Luna 5, Luna 6, and you want to migrate to Luna 7, what are the different options you have? We're going to talk about in this module number 5.
Actually, one question to
Yes,
connect.
JB?
Sorry, to connect a Luna 5 version 5 is possible with the client, the Luna client, the last version.
Yes. So JB, whenever we release a Luna client, it is always backward compatible. So it is always
Okay.
compatible with the previous releases of Luna.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. But again, it is always recommended just to be sure to read a particular customer release note where all the compatibility metrics is mentioned. So
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Gracias.
perfect. Now backup. So backup is again very, very important operation which you will be definitely doing for your cryptographic content, because like I mentioned earlier, there is no recycle bin, there is no backdoor entry. If the partition contents are removed, we cannot recover the content if it is not stored on an external HS backup HSM, or if your HSMs are not part of an HA group. So backup they ensures that in case of any event, in case of any your partition contents, if they need to be recovered, there is a secure system from which you can recover the content. You cannot go from a higher security model to a lower security model. Your network HSMs, they are FIPS certified devices. If you want to move the content, they have to go on another certified device only. Even though there are two USB on the fronts, two USB on the rear panel, you simply cannot insert any external hard drive and simply move your content to that hard drive. No, it is not supported. So all you require in order to take the backup is an external hard drive, not hard drive, sorry, external hardware. That is your backup HSMs. How many times you want to take backup? There is no limitation for that. There are no separate licenses, features you require to perform backup. Only thing you require is this external hardware. So there are two options back hardware devices you have. One is G5 and the new one is G7. How many of you have seen a G7 device before? Anyone have seen this G7? Okay, Nathan have. Okay, so for others, this is your lucky day. Let me show you how a G7 looks like. So folks, this is your G7 backup HSM. Very small, lightweighted, just Type C powered, no external power source required. You connect it with your laptop and this will be self-powered. You just connect it with your any USB like your laptop directly and this will power on. So on the LCD display, it will give you some crucial information like how many partitions are already created, how many how many words of storage which is utilized. So all this information is directly on this LCD display. What is the label for this backup HSM? Everything directly on this display here. This is going to emit light, so you'll not be able to read it, but I'm going to read it for you. I'm going to show some, I have clicked some pictures as well, which I'm going to show you. So yesterday someone asked me about this device in STM mode. I'm not sure who asked that question, but yes, whenever you receive these devices, they will be in STM mode. You have to do STM recovery so that these devices can be recovered. You'll not be able to initialize until you recover from the STM mode. So Thales logo at the time of booting. So let me show you some pictures which I have clicked because this happen all the time. This emits too much light for you to see on the screen right here. But let me show you some pictures. Folks, let me know if you guys can see this image which says secure transport mode on the top. Okay, thank you, Chris, Jerry. Thank you, everyone. So, folks, once you receive this backup HSMs, they will be in STM mode. You have to run the command STM recover so that you can recover from the STM mode. One of the input will be your random user string, which you will receive via email. So STM mode, so serial number, firmware version, everything written on the LCD display. Once you recover it from the STM mode, it will show you HSM not initialized. It will give you some information that this is your backup HSM and this needs to be initialized. A unique serial number right here and a firmware. So once you initialize your HSM and create some partitions, then this is what you will see here. You will see serial number, whether this backup HSM was initialized as PED or password. So same hardware can work with can do backup operation for PED based HSM, and the same hardware can work for your password based HSM. So for example, for your network HSM, you cannot decide whether it will work as PED or password. It is by default, it is from the factory. But for this HSM device, you can decide whether you want to initialize it as PED or password. And we're going to see today in the demo as well how this backup HSM will be initialized. How many partitions are currently created and how much storage is currently utilized. So you have another backup HSM as well, G5. Let me see if I have that somewhere handy. Okay, I'll find that in the first break. So we have another G5 HSM as well, which require additional power supply. PSUs is required to run those G5 HSMs, and those are our older version of backup HSM. So this one is the newer one. So only thing you require is this hardware G5 or G7 and then you can perform the backup operation. If you connect the same hardware locally, this will become your local backup. And the same hardware, if you connect it remotely, this will become your remote backup HSM. So same hardware, you don't have to order that this is my local, this is my remote. No, same hardware, it's only the matter of fact where you are connecting it. So on the day when you have to take the backup, which users will be required, which keys will be required on the backup day. So if this is the first time you are taking backup, then you require cloning domain for sure. Because we remember, if you remember, FIPS 140-2 level 3 says that the objects cannot leave in an unencrypted form. You have your content, on a network HSM, Luna 7. You are moving it to G7, your backup HSM. So when the contents will be transferred here, they will be encrypted. Your keys will be, your data will be encrypted. Anyone remembers how this key will be encrypted? Using which key? Using which key
Yeah,
this data will
red
be?
pad, the red pad,
Cloning domain key.
Red,
cloning
yep,
domain. Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
absolutely right,
Cloning
Chris and
domain
Avinash.
key.
Yep. So this data will be encrypted using your cloning domain. So this backup HSM, when you will initialize the partition on this backup HSM, they must have the same red key, cloning domain. If it is a password-based HSM, they must have the same string for your cloning domain. So very, very important key, cloning domain, which will be required. Your crypto officer will also be required. They have to log in the partition so that the contents can move. Even at the time of restore, crypto officer is the one who will write object inside your partition. So crypto officer will be required on the backup operation day. And there are some other roles which you will see in the demonstration today, that those roles will be required whenever you are doing those backup and restore operations. How frequently an organization should be taking backup? It totally depends on how frequently you are creating objects. For example, if there is a use case for PKI, you will not be creating your root CA keys daily. No, you will be generating them once in a 6 months or once in a year. So for you, backup frequency will be only when the keys are regenerated or keys are refreshed. But if there is an application that is generating keys every week for them, the frequency for the backup might vary. So totally depending on how frequently your application are generating keys, you have to decide this backup frequency. Like I said earlier, there is no limitation on how many times you can take backup. You can take 10 copies of the content on a backup, 10 different backup HSM. Two you can store in data center, two at remote location, two at another remote location. So no limitation on that. Totally up to you how many times you want to take backup and how you want to store those backup devices. So local backup, when you physically connect your backup HSM with the network HSM using two USB on the front or two USB on the rear panel. So use those options there and perform the local backup. If you want to take remote backup, then there are three options. One is with the help of Luna client. So this one we're gonna see in the demo today. With the help of Luna client, we'll take backup. Second is remote backup service RBS, where you have a dedicated workstation. How RBS works, we're gonna understand in the next coming slides. And then we have a cloud variant for Luna HSM that is called as DPOD, Data Protection on Demand. On DPOD, we have this backup HSM service as well. We have this backup HSM service, which can also work as your point in time snapshot for your cryptographic content. So three options to take backup. This is your G7 HSMs, which is from your B series. You have three different models depending on three different sizes. But all of those backup HSMs, they have the same number of partition, that is 100. By default, there are 100 partitions each on this G7 HSMs. You do not require any additional licenses on this G7. It is also backward compatible. So if you have Luna 5 and Luna 6, this also work with those HSMs as well. Portable and lightweight, you already see this is just like a small tablet. USB 3 powered. So as soon as you connect your laptop with your backup HSM, it will be automatically powered on. But if your laptop is not able to derive enough power to run this backup HSM, we also provide you external power adapter as well. A small power adapter just to run those backup HSMs. So 3 model 32 MB your B700, 128 MB your B750, and 256 MB is your B790. So 3 models for your G7 HSMs, and all of them have 100 partitions each. Yes, Avinash?
So for big backup, so we have the two model, like one is G5 and G7, right?
Correct.
So in G7 have the three different model, like 700, B700, B750, B790. So something like that for the G7 as well.
You mean for G5? So we have these are B7 series, which is also called as G7. This is your G7 HSMs. Then we have G5, your separate old HSMs, which I'm gonna show you in the after the break, the hardware. So these are your
Okay.
G7 HSMs. Remote ped for your G7 HSM. So on the G7 HSMs, there is no option, there is no USB slot to directly insert or connect your ped devices or directly configure your ped keys. So we have a workaround for configuring your orange ped key for your backup HSMs, and we will see that today in the demo, how those orange ped key can be configured for your G7 HSMs, for your backup HSMs. So now remote backup. So your remote backup, you are at a remote location, your HSMs are in data centers, and now you want to take the backup of the cryptographic content. So with the help of Luna Client, at the time of Luna Client installation, we saw there were a checkbox for your backup. If you select those checkboxes, all the required drivers will be installed. To perform that backup, we will use Luna CM, and this is done from the client side. When you are initiating the backup, when you're taking a backup, your partitions, they are automatically created on the backup HSM if they don't exist already. So when you are moving the content, when you're taking a backup, let's say in the command you says transfer my HSM partition to backup BKP05. This is my name of the target partition. So if this BKB05 doesn't exist on my network, this backup HSM, my command will automatically create this partition for me. But at the time of restore, the partition should be created, partition should be initialized, crypto officer should be also initialized, and they should be logged in order to restore the content. So that's why it says partitions are automatically created if they don't exist on my backup HSM, but at the time of restore, partition should be created and initialized on my network HSM. The third option of taking backup your RBS, remote backup service. Let's try to understand RBS with this small diagram. Let's say you have 3 separate locations for your network HSMs, and you also have, let's say, 2 different client location in 2 different countries or 2 different states. This is your client 1, this is your client 2. So in this kind of a scenario, if you want to take backup and you just have limited hardware, so you have one option: going to each data center, take your G5 or G7 with you and do local backup. This is option number 1, local backup at all of your data centers. Second option is using remote backup. Take all the backup devices to your client location. Take G7 here, take the backup, take G7 here, and take the backup. So this might be challenging if you have more than 2, or if you have different data centers and if you have different client location. So for that we have a workaround called as RBS, remote backup service. So in RBS, you do not need to take your backup HSM to different client. You do not need to take your backup HSM to different network HSM. You have an RBS workstation, your RBS workstation, a separate client. This RBS workstation will talk to all of your client. With the help of certificate exchange, this communication will take place, and RBS workstation will be able to talk to all of your client. You just require your backup HSM to be connected here with the RBS client. And now for all of your client, this G7 HSM is like a virtual slot. They can see this G7 HSMs, even though it is not physically connected to your client directly. With the help of this secure communication between your RBS workstation and your client, all your clients will be able to see this hardware, this backup HSM. So from a dedicated client, from a dedicated workstation, now you can take backup of all your client. You do not have to move this device separately. This RBS workstation, there is a demo, there's a 6-minute video how this RBS is configured. I would recommend everyone to see those initial steps which you require to perform for RBS, and how this physical device will be visible as a slot to your different client. So definitely folks, if you have multiple applications in location and multiple HSM location, you can definitely test out RBS, remote backup service. So in case of RBS, it is an option to centrally backup one or your more partitions. It does not force the backup station to be a registered Luna client. There is no requirement for that. It allows a workstation without your direct HSM access to take the backup. So in this diagram, there is no communication happening between your RBS workstation and your network HSM. No, it is only communicating to the registered client, and then your client are communicating with the HSMs. So this saves the trouble of connecting your backup device to each Luna client in case of remote backup, or connecting to each network HSM in case of your local backup. So from a single device, you can take the backup. Few folks who have selected that they have both password and paired HSMs in their environment. So in this example, you require 2 hardware connected here. One for all your password based HSM and one for all your paired based HSM. So at least 2 separate hardwares will be required, because this backup HSM, at the time of initialization, you have to select whether it will work as remote paired, as a paired HSM, or whether it will work as a password HSMs. Yes, Chris?
So just to understand this, so the first two methods, right, is you directly is you connecting to the HSMs itself, like the devices like the HSM7s, right, and then running the backups from them, but one remote, right, or one actual local, like a remote copy. But in the RBS, with the RBS, you're actually not connecting to HSMs, you're actually connecting to the clients itself, right, and then the clients connect because they have a connection to the HSMs. They connect to the HSMs to do the backup. Is that correct?
Correct. So there are
Okay.
three options. One is local, where you connect your backup HSM here.
Hmm.
Second, the remote backup, your remote backup using Luna client, where you
Yeah.
physically connect your backup HSM here with the client directly. And third is using RBS, where you physically connect the backup device with the RBS workstation. So three separate options. So this is your RBS workstation where your backup HSM is physically connected. So this work as your proxy, and it will be able to see your Luna client will be able to see your backup HSM. So the command to take the backup in case of RBS is same which you will use which you will run using your Luna client. The command is exactly the same. The only difference is in case of Luna client, you have a physical connection between your backup HSM and your client. But in case of RBS, this workstation works as your proxy. The command are exactly the same. And the connection between your Luna client and the RBS workstation, it is established via a certificate exchange. So in that 6-minute video, we have showed you the configuration steps which you have to do between your client and your workstation. Yes, Savinash?
I just little bit confused about this over RBS workstation. So let's suppose I have three HSM. So out of C1 client has connected, both are password based, and C2 is connected to the paid base. So in that case, the RBS will help to both these three HSM backup service.
Can you just tell me again the combination? What was that? These are
Okay, so I want to say for the C1 client is connected for the both password based HSM,
okay.
and C2 client is connected to the paid based HSM.
Okay.
So if I have to take the backup of this all three HSM in the RBS, so
Yep.
does this support mix
Yes,
and match?
absolutely. Yep. Mix and match works. The only thing you require is two separate hardware. So this one for your password based HSM, this G7 HSM, and this
Okay,
G7 HSM for your ped based HSM.
okay, so we need two separate hardware required.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. And then
Sorry.
from the same RBS workstation, you will be able to take backup of these two HSMs with the help of client one connectivity with the RBS workstation and store it on this G7 password based HSM. And for client 2, your ped based HSM, you will be able to store the content on this G7, which is your ped based HSM. Yes, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. One last question. So
Yeah.
I think I understand it, but I just want to make sure. For the remote one, for example, if you have, forget about if it's just ped based, your client, as long as you have one, because you may have like let's say for example I have 5 clients that
Yeah.
connect to, I have 3 HSMs, right?
Yeah.
And they all of them connect. I have them HA. I have HA on all of them, so they all, but each of the clients connects to each, has a connects to a partition on each one of the different HSMs. All
Mhm.
I have to do is when if I'm doing the backup, I just have to only use one client, right? I just have to have the ped connected, the G7 connected to that one client, right, which has access to all the 3 HSMs, right, to do the
Absolutely
backup.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely right.
Perfect.
So if this is an HA configuration,
Yeah.
this client talking to all three same partitions.
Yeah.
Similarly, your client 2 talking to same three partitions.
Yeah.
So all the contents which is which are there are same. So you can
Yeah.
simply take backup on any one of the client. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, RBS definitely helpful for multiple application, multiple client environment where, like Chris mentioned, there is no HA, there is a different kind of keys sitting on different client locations. So definitely RBS is useful for those. But yes, if there is a same use case served by say multiple clients, then yes, even taking backup from one client, still have all your contents will be backed up using one client. So local backup is performed using taking your backup HSM in the data center and physically connecting it to it. Remember, folks, let me try to draw the diagram for the rear panel. Here you have your HSM K7 slot, and on the K7 you also have another USB port. Please do not connect your backup HSM to this port. This is only for your, let's see if someone remembers that. For which communication this port needs to be used?
Cloning?
No, not for cloning. This
Oh,
port is used.
Cryptography.
Sorry, I didn't get that, Sabah.
Is it for the TLS communication?
No, this is not an Ethernet port. This is a USB port on the your HSM. Absolutely right,
It's for
Algapan. This
paid.
is
It's
correct,
for
Nash.
user pet.
for
Correct.
terminal, right?
Yes, for your PED terminal,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
PED connection. So for your console, you have your RJ45 port here. For console, you have a different port here. But this port is only for your PED connection. So if you want to take local backup, so either use two USB on the rear or two USB port on the front. Do not use this port. Do not connect the K7 card's USB port. It is only for your PET connection. If you
What
have a
hap-
connect, yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
What happens if you do? It just won't work. I
It
guess.
will not understand. There is a command
Yeah.
to
Exactly.
list the
Yeah.
backup HSM. It will not list your
No,
backup HSM. Yeah.
exactly. Okay. Thank you.
If you have an STC connection, so taking backup with the help of local backup HSM will not work. It can local backup option only work for your NTLS connection. So token backup list, this is the command to list the current backup HSM connected, followed by the additional command to take the backup. So if you insert your backup HSM to that PED slot, this will not list. This will not list your backup HSM. So this is on your dpod, data protection on demand. There is a service style which is for your Luna Cloud HSM backup service. If you want to store your cryptographic content on a backup on a
Hello?
cloud HSM, yes, yes. Yes, go ahead. Sorry, we are not able to hear you if you are talking. So, okay, I believe that was by mistake, but okay, let's continue. So, this is on dpod where you simply back up your cryptographic content on cloud HSM. So, not on a single hardware, on over the cloud, your cryptographic contents are backed up. But again, as of now, currently there is a limitation on number of objects, that is 100. But eventually this will increase and there will be more option to store more objects on the cloud backup HSM. Configuration backup, if you want to backup the current configuration of your appliance and store it over on the backup HSM, that is also possible. Here are some of the commands using Luna Shell. And the command is sysconf config import if you want to restore the services, restore the settings back. Now let me quickly find the G5 HSMs for so that you guys can identify which one is G5 and which one is G7. So just give me 1 minute, folks. I'll be right back. So folks, currently the device is totally packed up. So let me try to find it on my G5 Thales backup sim. So yep, this is how your backup HSM looks like, your G5 backup HSM. So you require additional external power supply unit to connect to this G5 backup HSM. And on the G5 HSM directly, you have an option to connect your PED devices. So if you have a PED, there is a PED port right here, and you also have a USB slot directly to be able to connect it. But in order to run these devices, you require this external power supply unit. But in case of G5, G7, you do not require any additional PSUs or any additional power supply units. So, folks, before we start our demo for the backup and restore operations, any questions, anyone?
Sorry, I had a question again. Sorry, it's
Yep.
from a number of slides back. You were talking
Yeah.
about when you were doing sorry, when you were doing like no, a remote backup.
Yep.
You said you had to after you did the backup, it would create the partition on the right there on the G5, right? Sorry, on the G7 device. But then
Yep.
you said when you do a restoration,
Yeah.
you have to. What does it do? It's
Okay. Mhm.
I didn't get the part about having you have to when you do a restoration you have to like reinitialize it again or something.
No worries. Let me come back to
Okay.
that. So when you run the command to take the backup,
Yes.
so there will be a command partition archive backup, and you
Hmm.
have to give a partition name.
Hmm.
Same concept for G5 and G7 both. Okay, so you will give the name, let's say BKP05. This is the target partition on my
Yep.
backup HSM.
Yep.
So if this BKP05 is not found on on your backup HSM, this command will not give you any error. It will automatically create a new partition for you with the name BKP05. So at the time of restoring, when you will restore the content from the backup HSM to the network HSM, this partition on your Luna network HSMs, like for example, if we have to store the content on Nathan partition,
Hmm.
so that Nathan partition needs to be created, needs to be initialized. Crypto officer needs to be present on this partition in order to do a restore.
Okay. All right. So you're saying if I'm doing a backup,
Yeah,
the like for example, if we created a Nathan partition on the Luna on the Luna network HSM,
yeah,
right? If we've initialized it and everything else, if we
yeah.
back it up and we destroy it, we don't have to initialize it again, do we?
Yes, you do not have to initialize it again. It is already
Okay.
created, already initialized. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I meant. Okay, that it just confused me.
Yeah.
It just confused me about it when you're doing the restore, when you said reinitialize again. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure what
Yeah.
you meant by
No,
that. Okay,
no worries. We're gonna see this in the demo today as
okay,
well.
okay,
The same
perfect.
principle. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah. So, folks, any other questions? Anyone?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
If we have a G5 Luna backup, we can restore on uh, Thales 7, sorry. We can
Network
restore,
HSM7. This one?
yes, exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, we
Absolutely, you
can.
can. Yeah.
But you say the G5 is not compatible with the 7, or
Okay.
I wrong?
Okay. For G5 with network HSM G7, I'm pretty sure they are compatible. But yes, let me double check on the compatibility metrics. If you want to
Yeah,
move from G5 to network HSM7, I think they are
exactly.
compatible.
Okay, okay. And maybe we can try to do this because we have a Model 5, and
Yeah.
we want to migrate this partition to a new one 7.
G7. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it's
So,
possible that to try to migrate this partition to a new one partition
so you want to, they are
to
compatible with the, yes.
Luna 5 to Luna 7.
Luna 7, when you say G7, do you want to migrate to G7 backup HSM, or you're talking
And
about
no,
the,
I try to explain if we have a G5 with a Luna 5 backup,
okay.
can we
Okay.
restore this configuration, this partition on a new one Tails 7,
Okay,
Model
yes,
7?
yes, yes. You can take backup here, backup
Yeah,
on G5 and restore it on G7. Yes, this is
exactly.
possible, but like Nathan mentioned in the chat, there are some compatibility. So this needs to be on a particular version. I think 6.28 is the version of the firmware. So there is a
Mm.
compatibility version. You need to be on a particular version in order to do this restore. But yes, this is
If we
possible.
don't have this version, sorry, if we don't have this version of firmware,
The firmware can be
we can.
upgraded. Firmware upgrades
Okay,
are available for G5.
okay, okay. And with this upgrade, we can try to do this.
Correct? Yeah.
Perfect, perfect, chef. Thank you very much.
And in order, let's say you have currently G5 and now you want to move the content to G7. That is also possible.
Okay,
Let's say you have G5 backup HSM as of now. So you have to do is restore on network HSM7 and then
yes,
take the backup here. So this is also
okay,
possible. Yeah.
okay, perfect.
Okay. I see two hand raised. Yes, Chris.
Sorry, that might be even an old one. Sorry, I'll lower my hand.
Okay. No worries. No worries. No worries.
Realistic.
Yes, Avinash.
So this restoration will happen on the partition level or on specific object level as well?
Very good question, Avinash. So this is your partition level operation. Backup is a partition level operation. However, if you want to migrate, if you want to backup or restore some specific objects as well, that is also possible. If you do not specify anything, everything will be backed up, everything will be restored. But if you want to back up a specific handle IDs, specific object IDs, that is also possible.
Okay, so for that we have to define some specific command as well to
Yes, yes,
get them.
yes. I'm going to show you that in the demo.
Okay, fine.
So, Jamie, Nathan have shared one link. Thank you, Nathan. So this is where, yeah, 6.28 is a firmware for which you have to
Okay,
be on 6.28 in order to back up the content from G5 to network HSM7. So there's a link in the chat provided by Nathan here.
okay, thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Nathan. Any other question, folks? Perfect. So after the first break, we're gonna see the demo on your backup and restore operation using this method, using this remote backup with the help of Luna CM. No physical connectivity with the network HSM. Everything remotely. Will take backup now, but after the break. So let me start the timer. And see you in 20 minutes, folks. Thank you. Yes, Jimmy, go ahead. Jimmy, want to ask something? Yes,
No,
go ahead.
no, sorry, mistake. Sorry.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, to session number 2 for day 3. Again, a quick audio and screen test. I hope you guys can hear me and see this yellow font on the command prompt. Thank you, Chris, Raj, Jason, Jerry, Vinash. Thank you. So, folks, before we start taking backup of the cryptographic content, as I powered off my HSM appliances yesterday after completing the session, so I just logged in as I connected the PED on my partition Nathan. Then I logged in as crypto officer as my appliances were powered off for the entire night yesterday. So 2 hours window was exceeded. So now I have to provide the PED only once. Once the partition is reactivated, I run role logout, and this time when I try to log in as crypto officer, it only asks me to provide the password. It is not asking me to provide the PED key again. So this is the concept of partition activation. So now my crypto officer is logged in. They can see all my cryptographic content. These are my six objects which I will take backup of, and these are the 6 content which I will restore. So folks, before we start this demo, any questions, anyone? Okay. So folks, there is a command s space l. The full command is slot list. You can use slot list or you can run s space l, same output. So this will give you the information about the current partition or current backup HSM you can see from your Luna CM. So if you go to your devices and printers, it shows me that currently my USB HSM is connected and my PED is connected. So these are the 2 devices which is important for me right now in order for me to take the backup of my cryptographic content. So you can verify from devices and printer. And once you launch Luna CM, you can see this slot. A new slot ID 104 is connected. This is my Luna G7. This is the firmware version. As my backup HSM is already initialized, so I can see this label right here. So just 1 minute, folks. Anthony, can you hear me? I see Anthony is having some challenges. The session keeps on connecting and disconnecting. Okay. So as this backup HSM was initialized for previous training, so I can see some label right here, but also I'm going to show you how you can reinitialize your backup HSM. So in this output, it is very important to see this current slot ID. Very, very important. Whenever you have multiple partitions, if you have backup HSMs, make sure whenever you run any command, you verify the current slot ID. So all the command which I now run will be against my slot ID 0. So make sure you make a note of current slot ID before running any command. And just to verify the current slot ID, the command is s space l. So if someone wants to place your appliances in STM mode, so the command is first you have to change the slot ID to my backup HSM. I want my command to know that I'm running this command against my backup HSM with the slot ID 104. So there are 2 options. One is simple shortcut s space s space s. and the new slot ID 104. Or if you want to run the complete command, slot set slot 104. Same thing, totally up to you whether you want to use the shortcut or the complete command. To verify whether my slot is listed to the correct slot ID, current slot ID 104. So now if you want to place your HSM in STM mode, the command is STM transport. Using this STM transport command, you can place your backup HSM in STM mode. If you want to place your network HSM in STM mode, the command is HSM STM transport. So this is for my Luna shell, for my network HSM, HSM STM transport, and this command is for my backup HSM, STM transport. So when you receive these appliances, STM will be automatically enabled when they are shipped from Thales factory. So you have to do STM recover -R. There will be a random string which you will receive from Thales. STM recover -R, and then once you run this command, your HSM will be out of STM mode. So I'm not able to recall who asked me this question yesterday, but I hope this is now clear to everyone. To place your appliance in STM mode and do a recovery. Perfect. So now this is my HSM and this is already initialized. So let us reset this HSM. Let us reset this HSM entirely. So my slot ID is set to 104. So any command I trigger will be against this HSM. So the command to reset my backup HSM will be HSM factory reset. You're about to factory reset the HSM. All of the content of the HSM will be destroyed. Your policies will be reset. RPV will be erased. Are you sure you wish to continue? Totally up to you. Let's proceed. Command list, no error. And now if I rerun the command slot list, I can see this label is blank. And we all know what a blank label denotes. The blank label for any HSM or any partition denotes
Has not been initialized.
Not initialized, right?
yes, absolutely right. So this my Luna G7 is currently not initialized. So this is the image right now I'm seeing. Not this one. Let me show you the correct image which I'm seeing right now. I'm not bringing it close to the screen because it will emit too much light. So this is right now I'm seeing HSM not initialize, Luna backup HSM. So we have to initialize it, we have to change it.
It's too bad that the backup does not have a, like when you do like when you just erased it now, right? That it doesn't have a name of backup instead device, because when it says HSM, it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blowing away your HSM.
Yep.
I know
That's why
you have to know what slot you're in. I know. Yeah.
absolutely yes. This is very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, even if I am on slot ID 0, if I run the command HSM factory reset, this will give me error. This is not a valid command for my partition.
Oh, okay, that's good. All right.
Yeah,
That's
if
true.
I
That's true
run,
because you're on a partition. That's right. Yeah.
yep, this is if I run against slot ID 0, this is not a valid command.
Okay, that's true. Okay, you'd have to run that from the HSM device itself.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So now, folks, on my G7 backup HSM, so the command structure to take backup and restore, they are exactly the same for G5, but you will see in G7. There are only some initial commands which are different to initialize your backup HSM or to configure your backup HSM. So folks, on the learning portal right here, we have all the document is, if you have G5 and you want to test your hands-on using G5, then there are documents for, so there are two sections. One is for paired HSMs and one for password HSMs. So if you want to see the backup operation for, why it is not expanding here. So this one is for G5 and this one is for G7 paired. If you have a password based HSM, we have two separate sections, one for G5 and one for G7. So as of now, I'm doing this lab, G7 HSM using PED. So make sure you make your notes as per your backup HSM you have and as per the authentication type of HSMs you have. These are for your references. So now on my G7 HSM, I do not have a physical port to directly connect to the PED devices, to physically connect the PED devices. So we have a workaround for that to set up this initial connection. I need to find a way to tell my backup HSM that this is my PED server, that this is my PED server, PED server -m show. I have to tell my HSM, backup HSM about this PED IP, this PED server. So for that, we have this initial workaround. You'll run the command ped connect -IP, IP of the PED server, -port 1503 -pwd. So this command will generate an initial one-time password so that you can connect this remote PED with your G7 HSM. Ped connect -IP, IP of the PED server, the port, and -pwd. Let's run this command and see what we need to do. So whenever I present my camera, there's a lag on the console. So there's a one-time password which is generated on the console and it says token found on my PED. I have to enter this password on my PED to create a link between my G7 and my PED. This initial one-time link. Enter the PED password. What I'm seeing on the screen, 39700,752 and enter. Are you connecting to 641781? This is the serial number for my backup HSM. 641781. Let me show you in the picture as well. 641781. Yes, I want to connect to this HSM. Yes.
Hey, Akshay, sorry to disturb you.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Can you reshare the screen because I'm still showing the learning portal screen, so I'm not sure it's my issue.
Is it for everyone or are you seeing this PED?
No, I see it's fine. I see the ped. I see
you
the
see
orange, yellow screen. Yeah.
No error now?
Yep.
Okay, so let me stop and reshare it. Stop sharing. Share screen. And share. So I hope it's visible now, Avinash. Perfect. So with this command, perfect. Thank you, Avinash. So with this initial command, we were able to create this one-time link between my G7 HSM, my backup HSM, and my PED device. So now as my PED knows about my backup HSM, let's create this orange PED key. Because once the orange PED key is created, in future, we do not require this one-time password. To establish the remote PED connection, we can use orange PED key. So let's initialize the orange PED key using the command ped vector init. So when I run this command, setting RPV, So this RPV is for my backup HSM, my G7 HSM. Folks, totally up to you whether you want to reuse the key for your orange key, you want to have the same orange key for your network HSM and your backup HSM, or you want to have a different set of keys. Totally your call. Would you like to reuse an existing key set? Yes, I would like to reuse an existing key set. So for our training setup, the network HSM and the backup HSM have the same key. Insert the orange RPK key, insert it, enter the pin, Are you duplicating this key set? No, I'm not duplicating it. Done. My orange paired key is now successfully configured for my backup HSM. I no longer require this one-time session using the initial password. I do not require it. Ped disconnect. Done. So now I can reconnect to the ped using this orange ped key with the help of command ped. So I'll just have to rerun the last command, ped connect, but without this PWD option. Now I'm connecting to the ped with my backup HSM slot. Ped connect -IP and the port. Because this is a ped, we have to take backup from a ped based network HSM. So we have to use ped in order to initialize my backup HSM. So now you can initialize your G7 HSM with the command HSM init -init with ped. So this is where, folks, your different lies if you have a ped based HSM or if you have a password based HSM. In this command, HSM init with ped if it is a ped based HSM, or init with password PWD if it is a password based HSM. So this is where the difference lies. This backup HSM, you can decide the authentication type, but for your network HSM, it is from default from the factory. So init with ped hyphen label, whatever label you want to give to your backup HSM. So this is my backup device. Let's call this backup underscore device. HSM init with ped hyphen label and your backup device. Let's initialize this backup device. So what's the first key we have to use? The first key in order for us to connect to this remote ped.
I think the orange key.
Absolutely right. The orange key. It also asks you on the ped as well. Please insert the RPK, the orange ped key, which we have just configured using that one-time password. Enter the ped pin. Are you connecting to 641.781? Yes, this is my backup HSM serial number. I'm connecting to this backup HSM. So now, once my remote ped connection is established, someone have to take ownership over this backup HSM. Can you guess which role we have to configure?
I think it's the CO role. Yes, I think, or SO.
The one who will be the owner of your backup HSM.
SO.
SO, I think.
SO, anyone else? Who will take ownership over your backup HSM? Anthony think it's SO. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
You have your backup HSM security officer who will claim ownership over those HSM. It says, would you like to reuse an existing key set Yes or no? So totally up to you if you want to have the same individual to be your backup HSM administrator and your network HSM administrator. Your call. Would you like to reuse? Yes, I would like to reuse. Just because this is training, for me it doesn't matter. But for you, you might have to create a new key. Insert the blue key, enter the pin. So once the SO is created, what is the next key we have to create? Are you duplicating? No. So what's the next key we have to
Right.
create after this?
Or is it partition officer maybe? Oh no.
P.
PO, I think.
Still, there is one more key in between. Cloning. Absolutely right, Algapar.
Yes, cloning. That's right. Yeah.
Yep. So
Right.
this is there is an administrative partition on the HSM as well. So if you are initializing, you have to set the cloning domain for that as well. Setting domain. Would you like to reuse an existing key set? If you want to have the same domain at HSM level, your call. Would you like to reuse an existing key set? Let's say yes. I'm reusing the domain key for my HSM level with my HSM level. Setting domain. Enter the red key. Enter. Enter the pin. Enter. Are you duplicating this key set? No, I'm not duplicating them. And done. My backup HSM successfully initialized. If I run the command slot list, I can see the label backup device, and this device currently shows me on the console 0 out of 100 partition. There are no partitions created on this backup device. So if I change the slot to 0 role login -n crypto officer, my partition is activated. I just have to provide a challenge password and partition content. So we have to take backup of these 6 objects. So in order to take the backup, make sure your slot ID is set to the source slot ID, which partition you want to take backup of. So the command is to initiate the backup process is partition archive backup -slot 104. This is my slot ID for my backup devices. -partition PAR, the name of the partition, let's call it BKP01. This is my backup partition. So this BKP01 partition, it is not present on my G7 HSM as of now. So this backup command will automatically create that partition for me. Partition archive backup -slot 104 and partition BKP01. So let's start the backup procedure. So the command finds out that BKP01 is not present on my backup HSM. So someone needs to create that BKP01 partition for me. So can someone let me know the role who is able to create this partition on my backup HSM? Which role is allowed to create that?
SO.
So security officer. Yeah.
Absolutely right. SO. So now, first, the backup HSM administrator needs to create this partition BKB01. So folks, make sure you are noting down the roles which you require on if you are taking the backup for the first time. So this is for the first time we are creating this backup BKB01. So we'll provide the password for SO. So now SO logs in. After that, SO creates this partition BKB01. And now someone needs to take ownership over this BKB01. Who is that role? Which role will take ownership for this BKB01?
PO.
Absolutely right. PO. Partition officer for my backup 01 partition needs to take ownership over this backup partition. It says, would you like to reuse an existing key set? Yes or no? Totally your call whether you want to use the same key for your PO or if you want to use a different key. Would you like to reuse an existing key set? Yes, I would like to reuse an existing key set. Enter the key, enter the pin. We are now configuring the partition officer. This backup HSM at the end of the day is also an HSM. You have to follow the same rule hierarchy, same role hierarchy. Are you duplicating this key set? No, I'm not duplicating it. Now my partition officer will log in and they will take the ownership over the partition. PO will log in using the blue pad key. PO logging in. So once PO login, what is the next key we have to create? For the partition, what is the next key we have to create?
Crypto officer.
Even before crypto officer, there is one more important key at partition level. The answer lies in this hand. Partition officer just logged in. They created the partition, they initialized the partition. What's the next key we have to configure for any partition? Same, Algapan, same answer, domain. Absolutely right.
Mhm.
There is a domain at partition level as well. So this domain for your backup HSM partition. So folks, so far I have said that it is your call whether you want to use a new key or whether you want to use a same key. But at this time, at this stage, you no longer have this liberty anymore. Whatever key you use to initialize Nathan partition, the same cloning domain needs to be present to initialize this backup 01 partition. If the source and the target, they have different cloning domain, this backup operation will fail. So here it says, would you like to reuse an existing key set? It is mandatory to select yes and use the same key you used at the time of initializing Nathan partition. Yes, I would like to reuse the existing key set. Insert the red key, inserted, done. Cloning domain for my backup HSM partition created. Are you duplicating? No, I'm not duplicating this key set. So once my cloning domain is created, which user will have the permission to write objects in my backup HSM partition? Which user will have the permissions?
Crypto officer.
Correct. Crypto officer. And which user can initialize crypto officer for me?
Partition.
PO.
User,
PO.
yeah, correct. So PO. Now PO needs to log in and initialize crypto officer. So everything it is telling me on the console itself. PO logging in, and now PO will create crypto officer so that these 6 objects can be written inside my backup partition. PO logs in. Setting the user pin, which is your black colored pet key. Would you like to reuse an existing key set? Your call whether you want to use the same crypto officer or you want to use a different crypto officer. Yes, I would like to reuse an existing key set. Enter the black pad key, entered. Enter the pin, enter. So previously my crypto officer was created. Now my crypto officer will log in. Are you duplicating this key set? No, I'm not duplicating them. User logging in, crypto officer will log in so that these 6 objects can now be written. Insert the black pad key, entered, and done. You will see on the slot 104, that is your backup HSM slot, 6 objects were now created. So these roles, we need to provide these physical pad keys if we are taking the backup for the first time. If after 1 month, after 2 months, if I have to take the backup again on this BKB01 partition, if I have to add some more content, can anyone tell me which role will be required if I have to just add existing objects? Anyone can think, let's say anyone can guess about what roles will be required?
CU, CU,
CU or CO? Sorry, again.
CU, crypto officer.
Absolutely right. Just the crypto officer of Nathan and just the crypto officer of BKB01 will be required on the day when you will be doing the backup second time. Because partition already created, partition already initialized, cloning domain already created, already applied on the backup partition. Just crypto officer needs to log in. So make sure you remember the roles if you're taking the backup for the first time or if you are taking backup again. You also have this option like hyphen append if you want to append the content, or hyphen replace. You also have these tags available. Like if you want to replace the content, hyphen replace. If you want to add the content, hyphen append. These tags are also available for you. So if you want to list, yes, Avinash?
You know, like regards to the domain key, like we see two times we
Yeah,
clone the domain, one for the HSM initialization level
yeah,
and second is for the partition level. So
yeah.
both domain key should be the same, or we have to keep it as different, like anything can be possible, right?
Very good question, Avinash, and good observation. So you're absolutely right. This is your G7 HSM. There is a domain at your HSM level, and then you have a partition. There is a domain at your partition level. The domain at partition level needs to match. This can be different. So the cloning is happening between partitions. It is a partition level operation, cloning. So the partition level domain needs to match. Your HSM domains, they could be different. Remember, same thing for HA, same thing for your migration, same thing for your backup and restore. The partitions, the source partition and the target partition's cloning domain needs to match. Okay, so coming back to my RDB session. So if you want to list the content, so you can run partition archive list on the slot 104. So this will give you information about the total HSM storage, number of partition, allowed partition, and what is the name of that partition. How many objects currently are there inside that partition. This information you can find from this command. If you have, let's say, multiple partition, if you have 60 partitions, but you want to list out up specific partition contents only, so you can run partition partition archive contents on the slot 104 and the partition name as PKP01. So in order to log into a particular partition and see the content, you have to log in as crypto officer for that partition. So crypto officer will provide their credentials, insert the black ped key, enter the ped pin, and done. So now you can see 6 objects and their handle if you want to see the contents on a particular backup partition. Folks, any question around this backup operation which we just did?
Sorry, what is the best practice for backupping?
So best practice as in, sorry, I didn't get the best practices in terms of managing your backup device or in terms of roles or
Yeah, in terms of managing the backup.
okay, so I'll just share based on the experiences which I have collected from different customers how they are managing. So some customers prefer that the SO for the G7 and SO for the network HSM are different. So they have different sets of roles. Even though for the training we have used the same sets of keys, but generally customers have their own sets of users for backup HSMs as well. Second, I have also seen some customers, they are storing the backup HSMs in bank vaults. So they are not storing them in the same data center, but they have a separate location, separate bank location, separate bank vaults where they are storing their backup devices. One bank vault for one HSM backup HSM and another bank vault for another backup HSM. Second important thing is not regarding backup HSM, but again regarding cloning. So cloning is another very important key. So they have sufficient number of backups, and those backups are also stored on different location. So you should not be storing all the cloning domains in same physical location. No, the quorum should be configured and they should be in separate locations. But other than that, if someone from the participants needs to add on the best practices which they are following and they want to share it with the group, you're also welcome to do that. So Nathan, Sabah, anyone wants to add to it, you're welcome to add.
Thank you.
Perfect. So now these are the 6 contents which are there on my backup HSM. So now my security officer of Nathan partition logs in with the help of their challenge password. They can see the partition content as well, Nathan. 6 objects inside Nathan partition. Also, you can verify from here, from the Luna shell partition show, you have 6 objects. So now this is your crypto officer and this is their last day in the organization, and their departing gift is running the command partition clear. They ignored the warning and said proceed. And now they have left the organization. Now if you see the command output for the command partition content, you do not have any cryptographic material in Nathan partition. If you want to verify it using Luna shell as well, previously it was 6, now it is 0. You do not have any cryptographic content inside your Nathan partition. But good for you, you already have a backup somewhere. So you just have to set the slot to the target slot ID. The target in our case is Nathan. We want our target, we want our content to be restored on Nathan partition. So if you have multiple partition, make sure your current slot ID is set to target partition this time. You just have to run one command: partition archive restore from the slot 104 and the partition BKP01. Simple command. It requires the crypto officer of the BKP01 partition to log in, because he is the one who is the owner of your key material. They have to log in. User logging in. Insert the black ped key, inserted, and the ped pin, entered. Just one command, and now your cryptographic content is restored. So Chris, if you observe the command at the time of backup and at the time of restore, when we took the backup, when we initiated the backup, this BKP01 was not present. The command automatically created this partition for us. But when we were doing restore, the Nathan partition was already there. Nathan was initialized, crypto officer was present, and now we are doing the restore. So I hope that slide is now clear to you and to everyone. What we did at the time of backup and what we did at the time of restore, the difference.
So if somebody took a backup, right, and
Yep.
then decided, and instead of just deleting the content, right, of that partition, deleted the partition itself.
Yep. Yep.
You'd have to recreate a partition with the same name, right, and then initialize it and then restore a backup to that, right?
So again, they do not have to initialize it with the same name. The name
Okay.
can be different, PO can be different,
Okay. So you
everything
can
can be different except the cloning domain. Everything can be different for the new partition
you
except
just
the
have to
cloning domain. Yeah,
just when you create that partition, you just have to make sure you use the same cloning domain that was used to create the first one to create that.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you
So
sorry,
that
did you have to
Hmm?
if you created it, you have to initialize it as well to before you do the
Correct.
before you do the restore. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Correct. Yeah. So this target partition needs to be initialized, needs to be created, and the every role can be different except the cloning domain. The cloning domain at partition level needs to be same. That's it. So that's the importance of your red key in your environment. That is how so much critical these keys are. So folks, any questions around this small demo for your backup and restore? Yes, Avinash? I'm still not able to hear you yet.
Sorry, I was not muted. So when we took the backups at that time, we used the partition archive backup with slot ID 104 and partition name like BKP01.
Yep.
Yeah, and same we did for the restore, like a partition archive restore. So we just change the backup and restore. Slot ID and the partition name should be like from and to should be the same at the both time, right?
Yes, so it depends on the current slot ID, the from and the target. That means the source and the target
Mhm.
will be determined by the current slot ID. When you are running the command, you will set this current slot ID first and then trigger the command.
Okay, depend on
Yeah,
the current slot. Okay, slot ID will be dynamically changed, right? We have to
correct,
take care of
correct,
that.
correct. You have to remember the slot ID could be dynamic. In this training demo, we just have one partition, so always 0. But if you have 10, 20 partitions, so slot ID, they could vary.
Okay, and that you run that partition clear command. So that command you run with the C crypto officer, right? Not
Correct.
PO.
Correct. So I logged in as crypto officer first. I changed the slot. I changed the slot to Nathan 0. Then I logged in as crypto officer. I first viewed the command using partition content command, and then I'm still logged in as crypto officer. Crypto officer have read and write privileges. I ran the command partition clear with crypto officer only. He's the only one who can delete the content.
Okay.
So now if my crypto officer run the command again, partition content, all my 6 objects are now back. The selective restore, selective backup is also possible with the help of specifying these handle IDs. Yes, Yusuf?
Yeah, I have a question about regarding the STM mode.
Yep.
Is it a destructive operation?
No, it is not a destructive operation. Even now, if I have my HSM slot ID to 104, and now I want to place my HSM to STM mode, STM transport, I have to just log in as my security officer first, role login, and this is not a destructive operation. Role login -n so. I have to log in on my PED. So when I do a recovery, this backup will be retained. My content will be retained.
Okay.
Enter the PED pin. Just Chris, I'm coming back to you. Just 1 minute. And now if I run the command STM transport, it will run some input, run some checks, and now it will place your HSM in STM mode. Yes, go ahead, Chris.
Quick question, maybe a silly question, but do people typically, if they have maybe like if they have an HSM, they have like 20 partitions on it, do they typically back up one partition at a time individually, or do people tend to back up all partitions?
So Chris, again, this depends on, let's say if they are updating the content, is it happening on all 20 of them, or is it just like one partition is updated or two are updated? So depending on that individual frequency, how the partitions contents are replaced or renewed or new are created, that will depend on how frequently you have to take the backup.
No, but what I meant is, do people typically tend to just back up one partition at a time? So if you have 10 partitions, you would not back up all 10 of them. You wouldn't try to make one backup for all 10, right? You'd want to do just one, right?
Yes, just one, because
Exactly.
every partition have their unique slot ID.
Exactly.
So this is slot ID 0, this is slot ID 3, some have slot ID 5. So you have to set the slot individually and then take the backup.
Okay, that's what I figured. Okay, thank you. And it makes sense to it.
Yeah. Good question, Chris. Yeah, thank you. So we'll wait for, so Yusuf, this is the command, STM transport. You just have to wait for a few minutes, and then you will see this random user string and your verification string being generated.
Thank you.
Yes, Avinash?
So how we can perform this backup operation? Like we have the cloud HSM. So in that case, what will be the in backup we have the keys, right? Paid keys, paid devices. But if it is in cloud, so in that case, what will be the required?
So even in cloud, you have an option to connect to a remote PED server and then do the same process. Then there is no difference in cloud HSM and your physical HSMs. Exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Got it.
So now you will make a note of these two strings, random string and your verification string. And when you have to recover, you will run STM recover -r this string as one of the input. And now this verification string will be generated. This is your STM recovery. Chris, is this from the last question, or you still you have a new question, Chris?
Sorry, I always forget to put my hand down.
No worries.
Sorry.
No worries. So same commands, just you will add HSM in front for your network HSM. So it will be here. You will run HSM STM transport. I'll get an error because my security officer is not logged in, but this is the command, HSM STM transport. Even if I proceed, I will get some error because HSM security officer not logged in. Okay, we have still few minutes before our next break, so I quickly want to show you, let's say, let this complete. And yes, Raj, I was waiting for you for this quite a long. You were very silent today. I still cannot hear you if you are speaking. Not yet, not yet. Is it only
Can you
me
hear
who's
me
not?
now?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, my headset wasn't connected. Okay, so this is, I think it's a basic question. So
Yeah.
from a role hierarchy perspective,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're on the Luna shell or the client, the roles are the same as far as the order of operations to either, initialize or create or on the for the crypto officer, security officer, and partition officer. Those roles are the same regardless if you're on the shell or the client or the backup. Correct?
Absolutely right. The role
Okay.
hierarchy at partition level, HSM level, they are identical. Just small change, like you call it SO on the HSM and you call it PO for the partition. So, but other than that, the hierarchy is entirely same.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So now you see, Yusuf, here, when we did the STM recovery, there are no changes which took place on my backup HSM. So this verification string is matching. I can say proceed, and this is my STM recovery. And my partition content are still there. Let me show you that. Partition archive list. So still my BKP01 is still here. So STM is not a destructive operation. Okay, so now, yep, you're welcome, Yusuf. So now quickly I want to show you crypto user initialization. So anyone remember which user is allowed to initialize my crypto user?
PO.
Okay, PO, one response. Anyone else? Which
CO
user can
crypto officer.
Crypto
ab-
officer.
Oh,
Yo.
yeah, PO. Yeah.
absolutely right? CO. So PO initialize crypto officer initialize crypto user. So we have
Oh,
to log in as, yeah.
sorry, I didn't know you said crypto user. I
No,
wasn't listening.
no worries, no worries. So crypto officer will log in and they will run the command role init -n cu. So now my crypto officer will initialize crypto user. The color scheme, everyone remember for crypto user, what is the color key we have to use?
Gray.
Gray, absolutely right. Let me quickly find my gray key. Here it is, gray. Okay, my ped is currently disconnected to my HSM. So I have to disconnect ped there and then reconnect. So it has to time out. So again, my ped can either be connected to my backup HSM or it could be connected to my network HSM. It could not be connected to both. Here it says please attend to the ped, but as of now there is no ped connected. I have to disconnect my ped with the backup HSM and then reconnect it with the my network HSM. So that's why we have to wait for this to time out. Or we can do this forcefully as well. So crypto officer will also set the initial challenge password for crypto user because partitions are ped based. Policy number 22, 23, they are activated. So only crypto officer and crypto users are the only two roles which can log in using password. Only these are the two roles. Your PO always have to provide the key. The orange ped key always needs to provide that key. So let me change the slot to 104. Ped disconnect from this console. Now slot to 0 and then we'll connect ped here. So ped connect -IP 32 So crypto user, another optional user. So this is giving me some error. So ped server stop, ped server start, and ped server show. Oh, sorry, I didn't see some hand raised. So Raj and Avinash, is it any new question or is it from the last time?
New question from my side.
Yeah, go ahead.
To take this backup, so we have any scheduler kind of thing? Like, let's suppose my backup device is already connected and I have to take the backup like every weekly basis or something. Like, is there any kind of scheduler available?
Avinash, as of now, there is no such option. This again is a manual way, but like Nathan mentioned, there are some scripts which you can use to automate it, but nothing from the HSM side. You'll need to do
Okay.
those changes, but nothing from the HSM side.
Okay.
Going back to yesterday and certificates, thoughts on using shim keys. Does that impact the HSM's ability at all? Do we sign with HSM using the private key and the shim would use the public key? This can wait if needed. Let me come back to that, Justin. Role login -n cu. Okay, I have to log in as crypto officer first, and then role login, not login, role init -n cu. Please attend to the ped. The first key which we have to use in order to understand the ped connection, your orange ped key. Connecting to 555392. Yes, this is HSM I'm connecting to. Computing session key, setting user pin. Would you like to reuse an existing key set? Where is my gray pad key? Yes, I would like to reuse an existing key set. Enter the key, enter the pin. Are you duplicating this key set? No, I'm not making duplicates. Crypto user initialized. You can also create initial challenge password. Role cc -n crypto user. Role -c. No, role create challenge cc create challenge -ncu. Yep. So now the next time crypto user logs in, they have to change the primary credentials, that is the pin for this gray pad key, and they also have to update this challenge secret. Same commands which we did for crypto officer. So the commands are the same, so I'm not going to show you those commands again, but this is how you can initialize crypto user if there is a requirement. So Justin, let me know exactly the query. Going back to yesterday in certificates using shim keys, does that impact the HSM's ability at all? In what sense, Justin? The ability for what? Justin, you have access to mic as well if you want to add further to your query. Okay, no worries. We'll be back to Justin question later. So folks, any other questions before we go for our second break for the day? Any other questions I can help with? Perfect. Okay, folks, see you in 15 and let's continue with the final session for the day. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, to our third session for day 3. Just a quick audio and screen test. Thank you, Chris, Raj. So coming back to Justin question. Justin, if you are here, please let me know if we can talk about the question further. Okay, so we'll be back to Justin's question. Still waiting. Thanks. Justin, do you have your audio connection working? So when you say that it impacts HSM ability, can you just explain on that?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just, like I said, I was relaying the question from someone on our team, and I just was waiting to get some more details from them on what
Okay.
they actually.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Mm.
Yep. Okay, so now we are recording as well. So folks, let's continue with some more theory about high availability and load balancing. So today, this last session, we're going to talk about HA, and tomorrow we're going to start demonstration on HA. We're going to start creating HA and do everything for your all operation for your HA as well. So HA, your high availability, is a way to logically group multiple partitions into one logical group. The key word here is multiple partitions. So your HA is a partition level operation. Your multiple partitions sitting on multiple HSMs, they will be part of your HA group. Your applications, they can continue the required operation as long as one of the partition is available to the client. You have 5 HSMs, 5 partitions in an HA group. 4 HSMs are down, so those four partitions are not available. Your application, still the performance will be down, but still they will be able to connect to one partition. So in case of your HA, your very important member, the one who will configure your HA, will be your Luna client. Starting from creating HA, adding member, deleting members, load balancing, synchronization, replication, everything will be done by your Luna client libraries. Your Luna HSMs, they are unaware of their members. So if 4 HSMs are in an HA group, there is no Luna shell command to see those members. There is no Luna shell command to synchronize those HA. Nothing. Everything will be done by your client side. There is no networking open. There is no communication happening between the HSM members directly. Load balancing will also be implemented, will also be controlled by your Luna client. The maximum it could have is 32 members. One HA can have 32 partitions in an HA group. So as these are your network HSM, your members can be sitting in the multiple data centers. They can also have active standby configuration. So let's say two members are active, one member is standby. So as long as the members are up and running, your cryptographic request like encryption, decryption, signing, verify, they will be processed by your active members. But if both the members are currently down, they are not available, then this standby will be promoted as active. So this is again automatically being tracked by your Luna client libraries. If there is a request for key generation, that will be sent to the standby member. If there is a request for key deletion, that request will also be sent to the standby, so that the standby members always have the updated key material. So those configuration is also possible, and we're going to talk about in detail about in this module. Objects that are created will be cloned. When one object is created in your HA group, it will be copied to your other members as well. So if you have an HA group of 5 members, object created on one, replicated on all 5 members. We're going to see how that replication works, but you just have to remember it is important that all the members, they have the same cloning domain key. If it is a PET based HSM, if it is a password based HSM, then all members have the same password for the cloning domain. As there is no interaction, there is no communication between the HSMs, this cloning, this replication will also be done via client libraries. So Luna client, very, very important in terms of your HA operation. Everything will be managed by your Luna client. Load balancing can also be achieved if you want your HSM application to have high performance numbers. You can also have this HA created and you will also achieve this load balancing. So how this load will be balanced? So let's say Luna client knows about the number of requests which is pending. So Luna client knows that, okay, on my HSM number 1, I have 50 requests currently lined up. On my HSM number 2, another 50 requests are in queue. So in this example, we call it normal round robin. So when you have equal number of connections pending on your HSM members, HA members, the next request will randomly either will go to HSM number 1 or your HSM number 2. But if the number of request connections are unequal, this is again tracked by Luna client. Luna client know that this HSM have 50 requests lined up. This HSMs have 100 requests in the queue. So in this example, in this scenario, we'll follow modified round robin. So the next request will be automatically be sent on least busy mechanics and it will be sent to HSM number 1. So this is how your Luna client is managing your load automatically. You don't have to configure anything separately. Those logics are inbuilt in your Luna client libraries. Replication. So the process of replication is again done by a Luna client. So if you have 4 members, so let's see this whiteboard and understand how replication is working. This is your partition A, partition B, and this is your partition C in your HA group. You have your Luna client, you have your application. Application sent your request for key generation. One key needs to be created. So now your Luna clients have this information about your HA. You have your HA created, and they know that these are the 3 members of your HA group. So what Luna client will do is we just saw the principle of selection, how one HSM will be identified. So let's say key was created on HSM number 1, that is partition A. So now this key will be stored inside partition A. Key will be decrypted with the help of cloning domain, and this decrypted key will be sent back to the Luna client. Sorry, not decrypted, my bad. The encrypted key. The key will be encrypted with cloning domain and it will be sent to your Luna client. We call it double encryption because first, this key is encrypted with the cloning domain, and second, this key is encrypted via TLS. This double encrypted object arrives at Luna client, and now your Luna client will push this object to other HA members. Partition A, partition B, and partition C, they have the same cloning domain, they have the same red key, or they have the same password for the cloning domain. They will be able to decrypt this object and store them. This is how this replication takes place. All communication is happening between Luna client and members. Partition A and partition B, they are not talking to each other. Similarly, B and C are not talking to each other. There is no special networking needs to be enabled between these members. Entire HA operation done by your Luna client. So in this scenario, your application have to wait for a success code from 3 members. So they have to wait that, okay, 3 success response is received, then they can continue. This is how replication takes place in case of HSM. So key is created, key is encrypted with cloning domain, double encrypted with the help of TLS and your cloning domain, and then transferred to your HA members. All of them have the same cloning domain, so they will be able to decrypt the object and store them securely. FIPS requirement, your content cannot leave your boundary in an encrypted form, cannot leave the HSM boundary. So they are encrypted with cloning domain. So again, this is completely transparent to application. This replication done by the Luna client.
Can you show the previous slide again, if you would?
This one or
The one before.
this one or even
Okay,
this?
success code. No, this was it. Okay, I remember now. Thank you.
Yeah. So failover. So these are your physical devices. Something can be wrong at the data center. There could be some hardware challenges, some network issues. So there are failovers for which your HA group will definitely help you. So first failover is at network level. Let's say if one of the devices out, it's not responding, services are down. So your Luna client will do this continuous polling. Every second they will try to get this information whether my members are up and running or not. But if Luna client finds out that they sent the request and they didn't receive any response back from the HSM. Sorry, someone is unmuted. Any question, folks?
Yes, the time now for waiting for the availability is only 20 seconds, or you can set the time.
This is by default. You cannot change it. This timers, these are by
Okay.
default. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So your Luna client, they will wait for this 20 second to get the connectivity restored between client and members. If there is no response received, they will mark the member as dead. This is again tracked by your Luna client. So this is at network level. It might be possible that you initiated a command and after initiating a particular command, now your HSM went down. So in this case, your HSM, once the Luna client sent the request, they have to respond back in the 20-second. This 20-second timer is still there. But it might be possible that your HSM might take more than 20 seconds to process a particular request. Let's say if it's a encryption for a particular file which is very huge. So it might take more than 20 seconds to process such request. So what HSM will do is they will send this to they will second this heartbeat every 2 seconds. So your client will send this heartbeat to the HSM. If no response received back, then this 20-second timer will be invoked. If the heartbeat response is received, this timer will be reset. So this heartbeat will ensure that HSM is still there, but still processing your request. But if there is no heartbeat received and this 20-second timer also completes, then your HSM Luna client will mark your HSM as not available, as dead. So what this heartbeat is doing is extending this timer, failover timer. So in case of failover, your Luna client will automatically mark that member as dead. Any future cryptographic request initiated by your application will not be sent to your dead members. If there is any command which was in transit, so that command will be entirely replayed to other members. It will be resent to other working members. So your application, this complete process is completely transparent to them. They will not observe anything. Definitely performance will decrease with time if performance for your, because if let's say 5 application was serving your request earlier, now it is 4. There will be impact on performance, but it will not be interrupted. The session will be continuous.
The question, actually.
Yes,
If we have a client that is that has partitions over multiple HSM physical HSM devices, like we have one example in our QA where we have one client which has one partition in each of our HSM devices. We have 2 devices in QA. So in that case, can the HA group be defined on 2 HSMs, or it should be always in the same partitions on the same HSM?
Okay, Sabah. So it should be always on 2 separate HSMs. I mean, even though you can create an HA group where this is partition D, it is also in HA, but you should never be doing that. It is always recommended that when you are creating HA, the partition should lie on different HSMs.
Okay.
So if you have 2 QA devices, then HA group should be between 2 partition, one on QA device 1 and second on QA 2.
Okay. So that when you say that if there's a failover, it means that the whole node, the whole device is down for some reason.
Correct. Yes. If there is a failover, then this complete HSM is not available. So still QA2 can serve the cryptographic request.
Thanks.
So yeah, failover again managed by your Luna client, completely transparent to your applications. So in this case, like the example which Sabah mentioned, so in this case, let's say you were getting around 800 operation per second when your HSM, both QA1 and QA2 were available. But let's say if QA1 went down, still your application can continue the operation, but the performance numbers will be, let's say, 600 operation per second or maybe 500 operation per second. The performance will decrease, but not halted, not completely stopped. There will be an HA log entry whenever member is up, whenever member is added, whenever member is removed. I'm going to show you that file tomorrow, this HA log file. Now recovery. It is possible that after some time, this QA1 is up again. This QA1 is now again running. So how your HSM members will be added back to the HA group? So there are 2 options for that. One is automatic and one is manual. As the name suggests, automatic, QA1 went down, connectivity restored, QA1 added automatically back to your HA group. You don't have to intervene, you don't have to run any command. Automatically the member is added back to your HA group. And the second one is manual, where you will run the command on the Luna client to recover, to add the member back to your HA group. So these are the two options available to you, and depending on your use cases, you can either go for automatic or manual. If the HSMs are currently completely down, you have to get replacement from Thales. Let's say one of the member is completely removed. Nothing, no additional steps. You just have to bring the new appliance, get the new appliance back, create the partition, initialize it with the same cloning domain, with the same red key. Just initialize it and add it back to your new HA group. Sorry, add the new member to your existing HA group. Once you add it, do a synchronization. This member will be part of your HA group. So adding member, deleting member is very easy. We're gonna see in the demo as well. Your commands to create HA, add member or delete members. Synchronization. So synchronization is a manual process, and if you want to forcefully synchronize the object, the command is HA group synchronize. So taking the example from our setup, let me clear this a little bit. So in our setup, currently we have 6 objects. So tomorrow when we create HA group, we'll add partition A, Nathan, and we'll create another partition on my second HSM, partition B. Once we add them to HA group, so this synchronization needs to be done automatically. Sorry, this synchronization needs to be done manually. So when I add this partition B, and this currently have 0 objects, after adding to HA group, there will be 6 and 0 only. I have to manually do this synchronization, HA sync. So when I run the command HA sync, these 6 objects will be now present on my partition B as well. But in future, whenever a new object is created, there is a request for generating, let's say, 2 more private keys. The same logic will be applied. 2 keys created here, 6 plus 2. They will be encrypted, sent back to my Luna client, and now automatically added to my partition B. So this synchronization is only required when you add a new member, but this will automatically synchronize. The object will be automatically replicated in future. So manual synchronization, HA sync command. Active standby. So your application calls, they will not be forwarded to your standby members, but any key material update like key generation or key deletion, those requests will be sent to your standby members. So that if all the active members are not available, if all the members are down, your standby members can still serve the cryptographic requests. That's why they always should have the updated key material. And this promotion of from standby to active is again automatic. Luna client is keeping track of that. HA only mode. So I'm not gonna talk about HA only mode today. I'm gonna show you this concept live in the demonstration, because this way it will be better understood once you see the configuration of HA only from the setup. So I'm gonna come back to this slide tomorrow, HA only mode. Now a quick HA recap. So some of the recommendations, some of the requirement in order for you to plan your HA deployment. First and most important, the members of the partition, they must have the same cloning domain. Very, very important. Else that replication of object, the cloning of object will fail. Second, the same firmware and same software version. It is again kind of a recommendation because let's say an object algorithm is supported on firmware 7.7, but it is not supported on 7.4. But if you have such an HA group, object will be created on 7.7, but it will be refused on 7.4. So in that case, you have an option, you have a possibility of getting out of synchronization. So make sure whenever you create HA, it is between same firmware and same software versions. Same logic for FIPS mode and non-FIPS mode. This is again our recommendation because some algorithms supported here, but not supported in FIPS mode. So make sure the partitions which are in HA group have the same FIPS configuration. Same authentication type. This is again connected to point number 1. Same PED level. PED HSMs can be part of an HA with PED HSMs. Password HSMs can be in HA group with password HSMs because of your cloning domain key. You can never compare apple with oranges. Your PED HSM have a physical PED key as a cloning domain. Your password HSMs have a string. If you have a PED based HSM, the activation of partition is mandatory. The partition should be activated. Crypto Officer challenge password in case of PED based HSM. Crypto Officer password for your password based HSM. They need to be same. And it makes sense because if you see in this diagram here, if my application wants to create a key, or if let's say even if they want to perform any cryptographic operation, they will only provide the authentication once. So whatever the crypto officer password is, they will only enter once, and then your HA library will do that authentication. So this crypto officer password needs to be same for both the members A and B. Your application will only authenticate once. That's why crypto officer password for all the members needs to be same. If it is a password based HSM, then it is crypto officer password. If it is a challenge based, it is a PED based HSM, then the crypto officer challenge password needs to be same. Partition size, another recommendation. You should be having a partition with the same size. Let's say you create partition with size 1 MB and another with 1.5 MB, and they are in part of your HA group. You started creating multiple objects. 1 MB goes full, 1.5 MB still have some space, so it is able to create objects. Then your HA will go out of sync. So partition size should be same. Version 0 and version 1, very, very important, folks. Please do not mix. Version 1 partition are used for specific use case, your scale SMK keys, your master keys, which is there in your version 1 partition, and version 0 partition, you have your traditional use cases for your for which you require V0. Make sure you do not mix and match and make HA group with V0 and V1. And the last one is again recommendation, the same performance level. 750 should be in HA with 750, 790 should be in HA with 790. Even though there will be no restrictions to do that, this is more of a recommendation. So there are in the slides, there are some recommendation and some are mandatory. Any question, folks, from this HA group theory part? Yes, Avinash?
So this HA will qualify as a DR plan. Let's suppose we have to do a DR test. So in that case, the HA will be work as a DR plan, or is this a different one?
No, definitely they can work. So in this example, let's say even if you want to do some disaster recovery, so you still have even active standby can also help you to test the disaster recovery plan. But even if all
Mhm.
the members are active, still that can help you. Because every partition members, every HA members have the same cryptographic content. So even if one of the member is not available, second or third or fourth, which are in different data centers, can still help your applications.
Okay, but in this case, the client one has created a HA, but client B has not created a HA for
Hmm.
this, right?
Yep.
HSM1 and HSM2. So in
Hmm.
that case, we cannot do the DR, right? If you think
Very
about in the HSM administrator side.
mhm. Okay. In that case, you have another client, another Luna client installation. They also want to talk to partition A and B. Simple. You just create another HA here. You can also create another HA here. There is no limitation on how many HA you can create. Create another HA, add partition A and B, and this can also serve your application. You can run your application from a different client as well.
Okay, okay. But
Yeah.
thing is that I am the HSM administrator, but I'm not aware of the client configuration. Like
Uh-huh.
client has just configured this HA or not. So is there any way to check? We check on
Okay.
the
HSM side. Okay, okay. So
HS.
no, there is no way to for you to verify whether partition A and partition B are in an HA group. No. There is no command you can run on Luna Shell to verify that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Even there is no communication, there is no network communication between A and B. You don't need to open any port or any firewall rules between A and B. No. All the communication happening is via Luna client.
Why don't you just get the clients themselves to, because they have access to it, or on a command they can tell you if there's a HA, if it's
Yep.
available or not. That's all you have to do.
Yep.
Because it will show up as I think it's called a group or something. It shows up differently, like
Correct.
it's worded. They'll be able to tell you whether or not it exists.
Yep. I hope that helps, Avinash.
Ah, yes, yes. I'm just thinking in different way.
Yeah,
Let's
I know.
suppose
I know your main operation task is here. You don't care about this Luna client side, but yes, then
exactly.
your interaction with the Luna client team will be important, will be crucial for you. So in terms of you have to explain them that you are the sole in charge of HA. We cannot see this particular communication been happening.
Okay, client should be active part of GRM in that
Correct.
case.
Absolutely yes.
Okay.
Good question, Avinash. So any other question, folks? Raj?
Yes, Akshay.
Yes,
One
Jimmy.
question. All the firmware and software versions are setting manually in the PET and the HSM? We have to do this maintenance?
The firmware version, sorry, can you please repeat that question?
Yes, the firmware and software version to set on the PET on the HSM, we are going to do the maintenance manually or
Yes, so
automatic?
let's say if you purchase the devices from Thales, so then the version you will receive from us is 7.2 for your software
Okay,
and 7.0 for the firmware. So
okay,
for you, if you want to change this version and upgrade, then yes, you have to upgrade it to the next version. But this have to be done manually. You have to run the
okay,
command. You have to download the packages from the customer portal and go to either 7.7 or let's say 7.7.1. 7.8 is also released, and our latest release is 7.8.1. This is our latest release. And in order for you to upgrade, there is a direct upgrade path. You do not have to go to any intermediate step. Direct upgrade is possible.
perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, this software 7 dot represent to the appliance and 7.0 firmware represent to firmware card version.
Correct. So these are two things, software and firmware, and again they have their own sets of principles. But yes, the upgrade file, the option for you is there is also one common upgrade file which can same file can upgrade software and firmware for you, but also there are some separate files as well. If you would like to upgrade them separately, then yes, one belongs to appliance, one belongs to the HSMs.
Okay, just last question for the HA.
Yeah,
Sorry for.
yeah. No, go
Let's
ahead.
suppose, yeah, in HA we have the two. One is active and second is passive. Okay, so let's suppose I upgrade the firmware or software version on the passive side.
Yep.
Okay, and I stop the traffic of active and started traffic on passive. So once it's active started, then we migrated that's active to upgrade firmware. So like that, we can do this operation as well.
So, okay, so let me uh, ask you this question. How frequently your applications are generating the keys? Because let me tell you the reason why. So let's say you have this HA. I'm just taking two members A and B. As of now I'm considering both as active. So you have your application. This is currently talking to A and currently talking to B. If this is our use cases like where PKI use cases or you are not generating your keys quite frequently, you have a set of key here and same set of key here. You just are performing encryption, decryption, signing or verify. So in this use cases, if you want to upgrade, you stop the connection between application and partition B, upgraded the firmware, and then you just restore the connectivity. There is no new object which was created. So your partition are still in synchronization. Now you can stop A, upgrade, and then you can now restore. But if your application is doing key generation, let's say my partition B is not accessible right now, my HSM is under maintenance. Now I created a new set of key. When my HSM member was added back, when my HSM connectivity is restored, automatically this synchronization will not take place. You have two keys here and you have one key here. So from the Luna client side, you have to do this HA synchronize so that when the HSM partition B was not available, all the objects which got created now get replicated on B as well. So you have to decide, you have to have this communication done from the application side, whether during the maintenance phase, are they creating objects or not? If they are creating objects, then you have to do HA synchronize always after restoring the connectivity.
Okay, okay, got it. Like if the not equal number are there, in that case we have to do the manual sync.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So folks, any other interesting questions as of now?
Sorry. So would you say, this is Chris, would you say when doing upgrade on firmware and stuff like that, it's probably best to, for example, if you stop the clients from the connection between the client A, whatever clients are going to B, because you want to upgrade B first. After you upgrade B, it's probably best to do it just HA synchronize just to actually no. Do you do the HA synchronize before you upgrade A, A client after you've upgraded B, or synchronize first and then upgrade B as well, A as well too. Sorry.
Okay, so now B is out,
Yes.
B is upgraded, B is restored.
Mm-hmm.
Do HA sync first
Right.
before upgrading A.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Always do this HA synchronization and then do upgrade.
And then would it be best after you upgrade A as well too to do a HA sync as well too again after in case sometimes based on B exactly. Okay.
Yeah. Always, yeah.
Okay.
So even when you run there is a command HAL list group. Even this command from the client side will give you this option, will give you this confirmation whether synchronization required or not. It will tell you, it will compare the object on A, it will compare the objects on B. If need synchronization is yes, it will tell you on the console. I'm going to show you this command tomorrow, where from the Luna client side, you can identify whether your partitions are in synchronize or they are not in synchronize.
Yeah, I think I've
So
seen
yeah,
that before. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So now about
Uh,
key migration. Yes, Avinash.
Yeah, but let's suppose you upgraded the B to the latest firmware and you restore the connectivity and it done the synchronization. So in
Yep.
that case, both firmware having the different version.
Yep.
Like in B, I upgraded, but A is not upgraded. The sync will happen.
This depends on the types of object. If one firmware does not support that, there is a restriction on the newer firmware for a particular object, then yes, you might see some challenges in terms of replication. So absolutely right. If the firmware have such restriction for a particular object, then you will see some challenges as well. But you have to get this information. You have to get this information before upgrading, whether the newer firmware support that object or not.
Okay, depend on the type of object.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now for key migration, if you have contents on Luna 5 or Luna 6 and you want to migrate them on Luna 7. So let me use this whiteboard. So this is my Luna 5 or Luna 6 and this is my Luna 7. I want to migrate the content from partition A to partition B. Number one option, we just talked about it, HA. Create HA group on the Luna client, create HA, add partition A, add partition B, and do HA synchronize. Whatever objects you have here will be replicated to B with the help of Luna client. This is option number one using HA. Option number two, backup and restore. No need to create any HA. Take the backup device G5 or G7, do a backup here. Take the device to your client, to your newer partition, same device, do a restore. Backup and restore because G5, G7, they are all compatible with all of these HSMs. Third option, slot to slot cloning. No hardware required, no HA required. One of the simplest method to do this migration. You have an application, registered client, partition A, registered client, partition B. There is a command slot to slot clone, slot to slot clone. Just use this command and directly all your contents will be migrated from A to B using single command. But in all these three cases, there is one precondition that needs to be met. Can someone tell me what that precondition will be? In order to do this migration, we have these three options. What will be the pre-requirement for that?
Same domain.
Authentication type.
Correct. So you both are correct.
Okay.
Authentication type and cloning domain. So they both are dependent on each other. So yes, same cloning domain. So this partition A must have the same cloning domain. Your partition B will also have the same cloning domain. If this cloning domain key is not available to you folks, you cannot use even any of these options. So cloning domain needs to be same in all these three methods. Using any of the method, folks who have Luna 5, Luna 6, they can migrate to Luna 7. Whatever you think is feasible. But remember, folks, if you are using option number one, that is HA, as soon as your HA synchronization is done, please remove the Luna 5 HSMs out of the HA group. It is just for you to migrate, but it is not meant to be directly used in production. We all know the limitations behind that. We already discussed it. But just an option for you to do migration.
So this cloning domain is for the HSM level or partition level should be same on this both migration time.
It is your partition level. Again, just partition. These three scenarios, partition level domain matters always.
Okay.
Yeah. Your HSM domain never needs to match. Even for backup, even for HSM, for HA, never. Even for migration, no, they can be different. It is only the partition cloning domain that needs to match. So these were the migration steps: backup, restore, cloning, and high availability. Take the backup, do this restore. These slides you guys can refer from the from your learning portal. Slot to slot cloning, registered client, same Luna client registered, can see Luna 5, can see Luna 7, and do this partition clone command. And then HA, just create an HA group, migrate the content with the help of synchronization, and then just remove it out of the HA. So with this, we just discussed different options for your backup and restore, local, remote, and we also talked about HA, how load balancing is done, how your HA group management is done. Today we talked about that in theory, but tomorrow we also going to see that in the demonstration. Before the sessions that starts tomorrow, I'll be powering on my HSM number 2. I will create a partition there. I will initialize the partition. I'll just keep my environment ready, and we'll just start from the HA part. Any question, folks, before we wrap up our day 3?
Does migration possible for the reverse, like 5 to 7 instead of 6 to 7 to 6 or 7 to 5?
There might be restrictions for that. I mean, we would not recommend it, but I don't see the reason why organization will go from 7 to 5.
Let's suppose we face any kind of issue that particular application is not supporting that level 7.7 or latest firmware, and we have to go back to the previous version.
So then you already have those content on Luna 6, right? So Luna 5 or Luna 6. Yeah. So even if you have to move the content, then again, I don't see any restrictions to do that. But let's say if the object was newly created on Luna 7 and it is not supported on Luna 5, then you might see some application related errors. But there is no restriction, there is no logical check in place that this is Luna 5, Luna 7, do not go back. There is no restriction for that.
Okay.
So quickly, I just want to bring the last quiz for, not the last quiz, we have one more which we're gonna see tomorrow. So please let me know what you think in the chat. The port number used by your NTLS connection is? Okay, multiple options, 1592 and 1792. B and C, there's a few are going with B, few are going with C. I'll wait for last 5 seconds for others to think about. Okay, another one with 1592. Okay, so folks, the right port number for your NTLS is 1792B. No 1592, it's only 1792. True or false, your crypto user can initialize a crypto officer. True or false? B, false, B. One more for B. Yusuf also think it's false. Absolutely right, folks. Crypto officer is the one who will initialize your crypto user. We just saw that in the demo today. Luna S750, are they PED or password? S750. B password, PED, B. Okay. So, okay, majority went with B password. Okay. A. Avinash thinks it's A. Chris A. PED. Sabha also thinks it's A PED. Absolutely right, folks. Our A series is password. Our S series is PED authenticated. So just by seeing the model number, you can also guess the authentication type and the performance level. 700, 750, 790, 700 standard, 750 enterprise, and 790 maximum performance level. A series password and S series PED. CK demo operations are based on CK demo operations. Is it PKCS11, Java, C++, or .NET? A, B, B, A, okay. Another one for B, okay. So CK demo, folks, it is completely written on PKCS11. So I think I promise two questions to Anthony. So Anthony, this is one of the certification exam question. Please remember that. PKCS11. Which of them is the best tool for measuring performance? CK demo, SA login, multi-token, or CMU? The best tool for measuring performance? Multi-token, CC, few more for multi-token, one for CMU, okay. One more for CMU, okay. So folks, in order to measure the performance, the best tool will be multi-token, because if we want to see the performance, we get result in operation per second using multi-token. So yesterday we ran multi-token and we get operation per second. So this is the best tool, multi-token, to measure performance. Folks, please ignore the formatting of this question. This is a multiple choice question. So in your certification exam, if you see check boxes, the question will be multiple choice. So which of them are mandatory roles for your Luna HSMs? PO, security officer, crypto user, and crypto officer. Which of them are mandatory? ABD, and majority went with ABD. Absolutely right, folks. If you do not have a security officer, you cannot create partition. You need PO to initialize crypto officer, and you need crypto officer to write objects. So these three roles are mandatory. Last question from this quiz. Policy template can be applied at the time of HSM or partition initialization. Can only be applied at the time of HSM or partition initialization. Is this true or false? Policy template. True, B. Okay, one for false. Policy template can only be applied at the time of HSM or your partition initialization. So this statement is, folks, waiting for last 5 seconds. Raj think it is true. Sabha thinks this is false. Okay. So guys, right response is true. Policy template can only be applied at the time of your HSM initialization or at the time of your partition initialization. It cannot be used when the HSM is already initialized or the partition is already initialized. So here, if I come back to my Luna shell, so if you have to apply the policy template, the command will be hsm init -label hsm01 hyphen apply template. So there will be a text file called as, let's say, policy.txt that you need to export first, you need to import first, and then you can run this command. So this policy template can only be applied at the time of your HSM initialization or your partition initialization. Yes, Raj, go ahead.
So for the certification exam, the format, is it going to be, select an answer, multiple choice, or will there be instances where we have to remember specific commands to actually type in some form or something?
Okay, Raj. So nothing needs to be typed when you are giving a certification exam. You have to select the right response by selecting options only. There will be few which will have one correct answer. There will be few which will have more than one correct answer. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Actually, can you show that last question once again? I just confused with that question.
Policy template can only be applied at the time of your HSM or your partition initialization. So that was the question. Is it true or is this statement false?
Okay, slash is or. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And
Okay.
in certification exam, it will be a question related to the command as well, like HSM init, backup restore.
There will be, I don't think so. There is some questions based on your commands and everything. But again, even if there will be, they will be from the basic commands, like you just said, like initialization and all. We have around 130 questions in the certification exam pool, and out of those 30, 50 will be presented to you. So it is possible that one question that Raj gets, you do not get it. So again, it's random, but even the questions from the command will be basic. It will not ask you to remember the command for backup or remember the command for restore. So don't worry about that.
Okay, got it.
Okay,
One
folks.
question: the exam is going to be tomorrow, or when is
No,
it going to?
no, Jamie. You will have the next 40 days to give the certification exam. I will
Okay.
enroll for you to the exam tomorrow, but you have next 40 days. You can decide whenever you want to give exam.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So tomorrow morning you will receive an email from me for this about the certification exam, but please do not start the exam yet. Please let us complete day 4. After that, once the day is completed, you can give exam anytime you want.
Okay, perfect.
So, but the questions will be completely based on the training what we had,
Correct.
right?
Correct. You have all your questions sitting right here on this portal. Everything you find under outline, all the concept, all the video recordings, certain questions will not be out of this module.
Okay.
And you mentioned the it's one shot, one kill, right? You said there's only one attempt to take the certification.
Yes, Raj, there is one attempt, but you are Thales internal. So folks who are Thales internal, they have 2 attempts, but for external customers and partners, they have 1 attempt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just few perks of being Thales internal. So Anthony said 14 or 40, sorry, 40 days. Yes, 40 days. 40 days to give the certification exam. Okay, folks, thank you for attending day 3. I'm gonna meet you one final time tomorrow. So thank you for your time today. Have a wonderful rest of the day and good night for a few folks from IST. So take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.